It's an off day for the Pittsburgh Pirates, so today, let's start preparing for what we'd want a new regime to do. That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan, and listen, as much as it makes absolute sense to move on from the GM, coach, whoever you want fired right this second, I have no way of knowing when or if they'll agree. The only thing I can say is change will come. Maybe today, maybe at the All-Star break, maybe this offseason. But you can't put on tape what this team has and is currently performing like and escape change. So today, I want to fast forward a bit. I think this team has put itself in position where they need to think radically. Specifically, guys they should trade to avoid this entire thing bottoming out again. In segment 2 today, I want to talk a little bit about how you change a regime if you actually don't want everything they did to be destroyed. In our case, like pitching development and drafting. And finally, I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about how bad teams in any sport really tend to turn fan anger on each other. So let's start with trades because it's the most fun topic. People love discussing those things, whether they really should or not, because they're all guesswork in a hat, really. Most people don't really know what value players have, and it is a difficult discussion, I would say. You're going to talk about a whole lot of different stuff when you're talking about trades, all the way from dollar value to years of team control to how old they are and how long you expect them to perform. What kind of a bet are you getting back? So there's a lot of things to discuss there, but I think the Pirates have two targets that they absolutely have to consider moving. And I don't say these things lightly. It's not like I think it's fun to move guys that we may or may not have grown attached to, but we have to start with them. These are guys that I would look at as early as this deadline. And before you say it in the comments and fill my comments with it, no, I too would prefer Ben Cherington not be the one to make these moves. Okay? But these moves, I think, probably need made one way or another. Mitch Keller. Yeah, I just said it. Look, I think he's valuable. I know he's not the ace many of us wanted him to be, but he also doesn't need to be for this application. He's signed to a very reasonable deal through 2028. This has to be a very specific type of team they find. They have to be willing to eat a contract entirely. Even a reasonable one like this, it's still going to cost $20 million in the last year. And they have to be willing to part with MLB offensive talent with control. That's going to be a tough match. And the reason I say that is you've got to find a team that has an overflow of offensive talent and they're really, really deficient on the pitching side. Now, normally I would tell you, well, that's the Orioles, right? The Orioles have all that offensive talent. They don't have enough pitching, and they're really supposed to be like competing for this playoff spot right now. They're not so far. I mean, they're struggling too. Well, the thing is, they're struggling offensively. You wouldn't believe it, but they really are. Their run differential is the worst in the American League. That both speaks to their pitching and their offense. I think it's fair for them to probably look at their offense a little bit more positively, if only because there are a lot of younger kids. There's a lot of trial and error there, and you expect that talent to come through. You probably just want to try to support it a little bit better with pitching, especially since you've got a lot of that offensive talent locked up for quite some time. Now, would you be willing to part with some of it? That's where it gets difficult. I just told you they're really struggling offensively this year, and yet they don't have room for some of their top prospects. That doesn't feel like how it works, does it? It kind of feels to me like maybe there's something wrong with those top prospects that aren't making it up. Like Kobe Mayo, there's a reason that he's struggling to get to the league and stick, right? As much as I like him. Kirkstadt, another guy they have. But that's the type of offensive talent you're going to need back for Mitch Keller, or you don't make this move, frankly. At the deadline, a move like this is difficult. Most people aren't looking to weaken their team in any way, shape, or form, even if they're strengthening it in another area. If you're in the playoff hunt, you're not looking to say, well, I don't need those 15, 20 home runs a year. I need this pitcher. It's really difficult to make that kind of a decision. You might have to look at something really creative, like a team like even the Dodgers, as improbable as it sounds, might need starting pitching. They always seem to. And because they're so fortified at the major league level offensively, they've got a lot of prospects that are just sitting there not able to crack through. I mean, they've had to trade a few of them off, we've seen over the years, because they just don't have the room for them at the major league level. Totally something the Pirates or teams like them should exploit. So that's Mitch Keller. I don't want to get into like too many specific trade scenarios. I just name a couple teams there. Boston's another good one. Okay. They're always looking for pitching. They need pitching. And if you're not developing pitching quickly enough, getting somebody ready-made like Mitch Keller, again, he may not be a superstar, but he's going to give you X amount of innings. You know what his ERA is going to be like, and you know what he can be when he's at his best. Mitch Keller is a guy that's going to get a lot of offers if he's put on the market, and I think he should be, frankly. The other one, this is a no-brainer to me. David Bednar. The Pirates somehow got him to turn his path around, but that doesn't change that this time here it's probably coming to an end. He's one more year of arbitration, and the bullpen wars will heat up at the deadline. Fans are already pissed, so nobody's going to blink about a hometown boy being shipped. And that's if they forgave him for having a bad season in the first place. This one can be for prospects who are close, MLB players, or even a couple prospects who aren't so close but have higher ceilings. David Bednar is one of those guys that you've got to be willing to part with. And now's the time. I can argue last offseason was the time. But in many ways, it's a lot better that he's looking good right now, right? What you'd really like is for David Bednar to continue to pitch well after his recall from AAA, straight up too close to the deadline. I think you'll never see more value for David Bednar than right then. I'd trade him at the deadline no matter what's happening on this team. And based on the math, it tells me that it's not going to add up to playoffs one way or another. So that's what I'd do. Next up, I want to talk about how you clean up this minefield without blowing up everything you've built. Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. And before I go any further, I just want to thank you all. Yesterday, I put out a little call on at the back end of the show, so you guys are listening the whole way through, and I love it. Thank you so much. Back end of the show, I asked that a lot of you go and rate me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and some of the other services that allow you to do so if you're an audio listener. And I can't even talk about the response. Crazy. Thank you so much. Keep doing things like that. You guys have no idea how much that stuff helps. Thank you a lot. And subscribe while you're here if you're watching on video, and give me a like. Keep this train rolling. This one is super tricky. First things first, the Pirates have developed, drafted, and deployed pitching. I know it's hard, but you have to be willing to admit Charrington and his team did something right here. They've got really good coaching for the arms up and down the system. So you want to make an overarching change. But you might want to stop short of cleaning house in this department. That could be really difficult. There's loyalties involved. You know, you're not going to replace a GM and coach and tell them they can't touch half the organization. But you can make sure that you've identified who really made this happen and suggest firmly that they survive the purge. It's not unprecedented. For instance, if you will recall back to 2019, the Pirates fired everybody except for their hitting coach, Epstein or Eckstein. I think it was Eckstein. Eckstein, yeah. They didn't fire him, which meant Ben Charrington came in. He talked to the players. The players all endorsed him. They really wanted to keep him around. They had just had a decent offensive season. Some of those core players like Josh Bell and Brian Reynolds specifically spoke up to keep him. And Ben Charrington capitulated, kept the guy. Problem is, Ben Charrington had his own ideas on offense and had his own ideas on how offense should work and had his own overriding philosophy on what a team should look like offensively. We've paid the price ever since, but the point is, he never let Eckstein do what he did. He never let him do what he did as a coach before because he never believed in his methodology. It was not his. So he kept him around for a year and then he let him go because it didn't work out. Not the way he wanted it to. Guy wasn't displaying his message the way he wanted it done. So you can get your new hires to hold on to people if you think it's the right move. But you do have to wonder how much they're embracing them and how they'll be able to still perform the same way. A lot of this I'm talking about mostly because it's a realization I'm having. Like, I really love what they've done organizationally on the pitching side. I understand that people get tired of talking about the future and everything, and I totally get it. I really do. Think about what I've been doing for 5 years. Been talking about the future, right? Well, the future should be now. That doesn't change the fact that they've done some really good things on pitching, and I love the launch ramp here. I love the trajectory of what this rotation could look like as even this year evolves, despite everything else, and in the next year. And yeah, right now I have Mitch Keller in that mix, but I think there's room to trade him just because of how good this area of their team has done. I think you could very well be looking at a rotation next year that has pretty much all young guys, except maybe like Bailey Falter. Maybe you have to go out and get another veteran lefty, however you want to work it. But for the most part, this team is in a good spot pitching wise. So I am a little loath to like destroy that. It's not worth it to me to not destroy it though, because of the offensive side. So if I have to pay the price of losing some of what they've built here with the pitching, I'll do it because I have to, right? I think there's some ways they can mitigate it. I already mentioned like going in and identifying certain people that really helped, but I think that's something that you can do. New GMs don't necessarily come in and just decide they're going to change the entire organization from top to bottom. In fact, it usually takes a year or two for new GMs to kind of get a handle on what's going on in the minors to begin with. So you might actually be okay and get away with the pitching not being touched much in the minors. And I don't mean the actual pitchers as much as the people instructing the pitchers, the trainers, everybody who's done anything with pitching here, from Strom and Marin all the way down to Huey and everyone else that works in the minor league system. I think I would just like to identify the figureheads there and make sure that they were prioritized to the new GM as, hey, at least give this some thought before you move on. Here's why. I don't know who does that in a system like this because it's certainly not going to be the owner. And I would imagine it could be an underling of Ben Charrington that sticks around, like Sanders or even Graves, who's been with the organization for almost 2 decades now and probably doesn't have all that much allegiance to Ben Charrington to begin with. Sarah Gellis could maybe step in and have something to say there. She's only been here a couple of years and she's come from championship stock. So I would think there's a possibility there that you've got some fresh eyes to look at things and some reasonable takes about who you would want to keep and who you would not want to keep. But it's definitely a difficult situation. Team needs drastic change. I just don't think you hire anybody and tell them not to make it. Now, on an interim basis, let's say they fire Ben Charrington tomorrow or tonight. Let's just dream about it, right? Well, if they fire him tonight, your interim is going to be Kevin Graves, Sanders, or maybe Sarah Gellis. Those three are probably the leading candidates to be the interim GM. An interim GM isn't going to make any big structural changes like that. They could make some trades. In fact, a lot of them try to. This team has a structure that it requires like some involvement from Travis Williams, but Travis Williams is not a baseball guy and will not weigh in on whether it's a smart move or not. So it's really going to come down to, do they allow them to make trades or do they not? And if they do allow them to make trades, do they keep their finger off the lever and make sure that it's a true evaluation and not an effort to shed money? I know I'm saying that after segment 1, I suggested shedding money because Bednar and Keller are 2 of their most expensive players. Yeah, except I'm not asking for them to be traded to save this organization money. That's just a side benefit. To me, they're 2 of the more valuable chips you have, and I think Bednar is going to have a reckoning and either flip back into what he was starting to look like, and or he's going to hit his max ceiling here next year, the year after anyway. He's not a guy I want to extend, and I don't want to take him all the way to the end of arbitration. I'm certainly not going to give him a qualifying offer. And next year, you'd have to pay him over $6 million to pitch here, and I don't want to do it. And I don't think this team should want to do it. Mitch Keller, he's performed admirably. He's certainly eaten innings for us. I love him. In an ordinary world, I would keep him and be completely happy that we have that contract signed. The reason I suggest to trade him is I think they have better pitching talent coming. And I think that even if it struggles, we could be further ahead by getting the bats back that Mitch Keller nets, as opposed to trying to pretend we're going to pitch our way to a championship with a team like this. Look, you have to do something drastic. When you haven't won a single game this whole season, when you're trailing after 7, you've been shut out 7 times already. They have to have offense. They have to get it somewhere, and they're going to have to use the chips they have. I don't see this GM ever being comfortable moving on from, say, a Bubba Chandler or a Hunter Barco in a package to get something back. I see him much more, and I see Bob much more comfortable moving on from something that costs money, like Mitch Keller, and making a deal like that. It's not the way a winning team would typically do things, but this isn't a winning team, and it isn't close to being a winning team. So now is the time to make a move like that before you're forced into it in a couple of years anyway. I think this is what I would do. Let's talk next about basically how fans interact with each other during times like these. It's very difficult to have a fan base kind of not feel like they hate each other. And that's not fair. It shouldn't be that way. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love them when I'm on the golf course. They really help me get through 18. I wish they'd help my score a little more, but I certainly feel like I have a little more energy by the time I get done, which is always a good thing. So get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Finally, today, I just want to talk a bit about how we talk to each other. This is not any fan's fault, okay? Let's just start there. This isn't because Jim and Sandy like going to baseball games. It's not because any fan accepts losing. It isn't because they're not joining protests. It's not because someone talked about something good a player did in their character-limited social media post and somehow forgot to mention all the bad stuff they do. Look, I expect it from me. I earn it. I'm out there making content, talking about this team all the time. So I fully deserve to hear opinions and take in hate or love. It's all part of it. I'm too negative for some fans, not negative enough for others. And for others still, I'm a complete shill. Now, what I personally hope all that adds up to is that I'm fair. Because that's really all I've ever wanted to be. I want to praise them when they do things that are praiseworthy, criticize them when they do things that are criticism worthy. And more than anything, I just want to be fair and objective and see both sides of everything. That's what I really think fans deserve. You make up your mind what you feel about things. Sure, I'll give you my opinion, but I want you to make up your mind. And I think that we expect all fans to agree on everything, and we just shouldn't. Some fans, man, they aren't trying to know every single detail. They don't care about the up and down processes of transactions in Major League Baseball. They want to just scream that you need to DFA Jared Triolo, and they don't want to hear that he's got two options, and that would be stupid. Okay? Like, I can tell them that's stupid because it is, but you don't need to fight about it online. Just let it go. As a fan base, man, there has to be room for that sort of stuff. They certainly don't deserve to be told that they've created a mess we're watching because they go to 5 or 10 games a year. Attendance does not have the impact you think it does on this team spending or their ability to spend or whether they want to stay or not stay in Pittsburgh. It doesn't matter hardly at all. It matters for the local community around a lot more than it matters for the Pirates. You have to remember, Major League Baseball, in many ways, these smaller market teams are largely subsidized. Now, they're subsidized the way, I guess, it's the best way I can put this into like everyday terms. They're subsidized in the way that welfare recipients are subsidized. Okay. Like, they can eat, they have enough money to go get some food. They're able to go and do that, but they're not going to live high on the hog. You know, it's not going to be a great life for you unless you like go out and do something better and make money of your own somehow and get off the government teat. Well, the Pirates are always going to be a hard team to build until Major League Baseball changes. That's the way this league is structured right now. That's not fun. It's not great. It's certainly not easy to work with, but it's nothing to get mad at fans about. Fans going to baseball games largely are just going to baseball games. They're not into it like the people that are yelling and chattering about it on social media. They're just not. A lot of the people that go to these baseball games are just going to watch a baseball game. Heck, maybe they're even just going to watch a star on another team that came here. You're never going to get that ballpark to be completely empty, and even if you did, it will not accomplish what you think it will. Just stop arguing with each other about who is and isn't responsible for this. Bob Nutting's responsible for this. Major League Baseball is responsible for the environment that allows Bob Nutting to operate the way he operates. And Bob Nutting is responsible for terrible hires. He's hired two people to run his organization that have not done a good job. Travis Williams has endlessly embarrassed this franchise in the PR department this year alone. And for that, I'm positive he, more than anyone else, is going to get the axe after this year. And Ben Cherington has been relentlessly loyal to a bad coaching hire, if you ask me. And then on top of that, he hasn't provided said coach enough to do the job. If you want to blame people, there's your targets. Yell at them. Don't yell at each other. Fans have enough that they're dealing with here with the Pirates. You should be able to go on social media and see that Brian Reynolds hit a home run without getting 50 responses to that post that, yeah, well, he stunk the rest of the year. Or, yeah, but look at his average. Yeah, but look at this. Yeah, in the moment, man, the guy hit a 2-run home run. Am I not allowed to enjoy that? O'Neal Cruz hits a ball like 118 miles an hour to the wall and somehow doesn't get to second base because he hit the ball 118 miles to the wall and it got picked up right away and fired back in. Well, he's lazy. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Sometimes a good thing is a good thing. Let it be good. You're not going to get an awful lot of them so far, are you? Take them when you get them. And when you get bad things, by all means, you should have the same right. Nobody should be able to say, when Brian Hayes doesn't get low enough to field a routine grounder at third, and you say, that sucks, Hayes got to be better, somebody shouldn't be coming at you saying, well, he's always really good. Again, in the moment. It's baseball. In the moment. You're allowed to make crazy statements. You're a fan. Let's just let each other be fans, okay? Let everybody cope the way they have to cope. It's not easy following a bad baseball team. Some of you aren't even going to watch. You're just going to watch shows like this, find out how bad things were, and move on. So you're basing a lot of what you know on people talking about baseball rather than watching it. Completely understandable, but certainly not worth hating your fellow neighbor over. Okay. It's baseball. Try to just remember that you actually like the sport. That's all. That's all I got for you today. I'm going to do an Ask Me Anything episode tomorrow. So if you can, I think I'm going to do it live at noon. I think that makes a lot of sense. Doing those shows live is cool. So let's do an Ask Me Anything episode tomorrow, live at noon. Leave me questions, comments, topic suggestions right here in the comments on YouTube or whatever platform you're listening to this on, or follow me on X and send me a message. Follow the Locked On account and send me a message. And I'll make sure that I get them in there, as many of them as I can. We'll have a good, fun show. Seems like a good time for a lot of questions, doesn't it? Let's make sure that we get them in. I want you to take a second, though, to check out the new show here on the Locked On Network, Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. A lot of fun. I really enjoy watching it. It's a good breakdown of what's happened every single day in MLB. And you'll find, just listening to it for a week, you'll have your arms around what's happening all throughout Major League Baseball a lot better than you did before you started listening to it. It's a good time, and the hosts change all the time. So sometimes you'll have local people that you know, like me, or sometimes you won't. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. And that's all I got for you this week. Keep going.